Wow, that was a much quicker intro than the other ones. I didn't even have time to think about shit. Oh man! Welcome everyone to the Wednesday Night Live. I'm going to do my best. I've been sick for the last 3 days to try to speak without coughing into the mic, but Tim may have to take over at some point in time. So hopefully you have that docket open, Timmy.
I do.
You do. Good job. Because I'm not doing too great, but I'm feeling better today. Yes, our what do we like to call him, guys? He is the Wednesday Night Live consigliere.
Ah, there you go.
Consigliere. Every time I see him, I want an espresso. I had a great picture. I don't. Great picture that I had chat GP put together of Greg, me, and Tim, and I see. We got to figure out.
Just say Shelly.
Sitting in a coffee house in Italy, all dressed up in 1950 gangsters outfit, and it was a great. I'll have to look for it somewhere on my hard drive. But Greg is here with us. He's going to talk about the Fifth Circuit VDX Distro versus the FDA. We're going to go into that. I had some questions, but Greg let me in on a little problem that we might have. But I think the 20 questions I have for you, I think are going to fill in just fine on the subject. And I think it's Greg will be able to help us better understand what happened and what took place and what's going to happen in the future here. But before we get into all that, let's say hello to Mr. Tim Swift.
What's up, everybody? I'd love to have wonderful, flashy stories for you. Well, we did have a fun weekend. So on Saturday night, we went and saw, I don't know how to describe it. So those who are in the same wheelhouse as me, George Lynch is touring around with sort of a kind of a show all about the Dokken hits and stuff like that, like his Dokken career, even though he's no longer in Dokken and they're no longer functioning. So he's touring with several other musicians, and so it was kind of revelry to that. So that was fun, and we bought VIP. I rarely ever buy VIP to any show, but it was such a tight, smaller club, and we waited too long to get regular tickets that I had to buy like the next tier up VIP. So that actually was enjoyable. We were on the upper balcony, had a private bar, and really great vantage point to see the show. And then Sunday, we hung out with friends and had an Italian dinner. You'd be proud. Carbonara and some spaghetti.
Wait a minute. You didn't go to the Olive Garden, did you?
No. It was all homemade, and well done. And
they weren't family. It's okay.
Yeah.
But so that was the flashy part of my life. The rest of the week has been doctor's appointments and regular life stuff.
Yeah.
Mr.
Troutman, how is your week going?
Busy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Busy. That's it. No fun, nothing fun happening this week to you?
Just getting stuff closed out so I can go to Champs next week.
Okay. All right. And Shelly.
Greg, now don't take this wrong, but I had to deal with freaking lawyers this week, so I'm sorry.
Hey, forget about it, huh? Forget about it.
No, I wish I could.
Hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do, huh?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to get rid of this one way or another.
The lawyer.
Yes.
If you got the right lawyer, he could take care of both of those things.
I know.
That's right.
He's gonna have to like point me in the right direction here at the end.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm getting there. So things are getting better. So I spent some extra time at the beach, so it was even better. And,
these damn Florida people, Greg. These Florida people with their sunshine and their their beaches and their white sands.
I didn't get out of the car for one of them, so I just drove, and I could see the street down to the beach, and I just kind of sat there and took a picture.
Hey, that's good. I do this.
Hey, it's better than nothing,
I do the same thing.
New Orleans. So.
I want to clear my mind. I go hiking, and I go to French Camp, which is not too far from here. And I just, I go up. I do that 4-mile hike. It's a loop hike, and I go up to the top. I sit up there, and I just watch the waterfall. That's it.
Mm-hmm. That's it for hours.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
And then that keeps me from killing people and then needing a good lawyer.
Yes.
Anyway,
Peggy.
I had a good week. So
good. Peggy, how's your week going?
Our week is good. It's always good here. Actually, I went to the beach yesterday. Sorry, John.
See?
Love you, girl.
You got to go get some negative ions and kind of balance out all the stress, and just watch the water. But it was too cold to get wet and take your shoes off. I'm sorry. It was only like 70 degrees. It's kind of chilly.
Yeah. All right. Timmy, real quick, say hello to everybody in the chat, and we can get to questions to Mr. Troutman.
Absolutely. We got a huge group in the chat tonight. There are exactly 11 peering eyes. But we got a couple wonderful people in the chat. We got Steve Canoe in the house. Steve Canoe. There's Peggy. Peggy, who's with us on the show. She's in the chat.
Yep.
And then we got our resident pirate, James in the house. Good to see you, James. Yep. Now they make everybody put like their actual real name. I'm trying to understand why YouTube is forcing people to reveal themselves. I like all the fancy fun names. I don't want formality is great, but come on, let's get back to the fun name.
All right.
That's it. That's all
right. Let's get right into it, Greg. I'm going to hit you with the first and obvious questions for our listeners who didn't hear the oral argument. What is this case really all about in plain English?
In plain English, well, I represent VDX Distro, 4 Seasons, and their menthol flavored vape product was denied marketing by FDA. We challenged it. Went through the briefing process, and on January 6th, we had an oral argument at the 5th Circuit in New Orleans. And if any of you all have ever used 4 Seasons, you look up 4 Seasons menthol and look at the branding of it and tell me if it's not some of the cleanest branding you've ever seen on a vaping product.
Yeah, we're put up to a different standard. That's what makes me laugh. We're put up to a different standard when you can compare it to what the vape industry is going up against. When you see what the alcohol industry puts out there and the kind of commercials they put out there, and no one blinks an eye, no one says anything. You got ice cream with alcohol in it in the same section where regular ice cream is sold, and nobody says nothing, nobody complains about anything.
Well, and the thing is, Ryan Chalmers, VDX's owner, intentionally modeled his packaging and his branding after a cigarette carton.
Yeah, it does. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
And so if that's child appealing, then so is every cigarette carton in the country.
Yeah. Oh, geez. You got a picture of that, Timmy? Can you pull it?
I can share it. It'll be on a vendor. Hold on. I can't block out the vendor part of it, but anyway, I'll show it to you anyway. Hold on. Where's the thing where I can share? I don't have the words anymore. Oh, I found it. Okay, share screen. Hold on, it's coming. It's a coming.
That's what she said.
There you go. Right there.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. FDA said that was child appealing.
How
in the world?
Must have been an old soul child.
Because that's what FDA said. FDA said that was child appealing.
That is absolutely insane.
That's almost borderline generic white box black text. Outside of the fact that it's just kind of a faded green box with green text.
Yeah.
Right.
And their other bottles are the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're clean. They're not as clean as Coastal Clouds, but they're clean.
Yeah.
So, good company, good product. got a marketing denial. We challenged it. I made some interesting arguments. Make some of the same arguments that Triton has made and some of the other folks that have challenged have made. I went a step further. I made a couple constitutional arguments. One is that how Congress went about regulating tobacco products in the Tobacco Control Act, and when it gave what's referred to as the vesting clause of the Tobacco Control Act, that's the clause that gave FDA its authority. Part of it is unconstitutional. The part that FDA has used to deem products is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
I've also argued that open system vaping products in particular are like premium cigars, and so it was arbitrary for FDA to deem them in the same fashion as it did all other tobacco products.
Correct.
Let me get you the next question here. What was at stake for your client if the court ruled against you?
If the court rules against us, then our VDX is like everybody else that got a marketing denial and is lost in court.
Yeah,
it's going to be a function at that point of how aggressive FDA is against them. Obviously, those products would no longer be allowed in a registry state.
So Florida
Florida would be allowed.
Kentucky,
Yes.
Florida would be allowed.
Yes.
okay,
We have an
Kentucky, a lot of places that have registry bills, this product would not be allowed anymore.
Okay.
We have an open system exemption, sort of.
Okay.
sorta. Yeah, sorta.
Right. That's what I was wondering, though. Sorta.
Well, it depends on who enforces it. So, sort of.
Right.
Nobody's enforced it yet. So, hey.
Right.
Before you walked into court, what was the single strongest point you felt you had?
I thought the product standard issue was the single strongest, and that's the one that the court initially tried to focus on. Triton had addressed it. Triton did it in a footnote that was about 4 or 5 lines. There's a stay opinion, an earlier stay opinion for R.J. Reynolds that goes into greater detail on the product standard issue. And actually, R.J. Reynolds, I gave them 5 minutes of argument time to argue the product standard issue. So Reynolds and the open system side were on the same side of this issue.
You guys have questions before I go through mine, or
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. What was the biggest weakness you knew the judges might focus on, Craig?
The biggest weakness is that there's always a tendency to find in favor of the agency.
Yeah.
There's always a tendency to defer to the agency.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Let me scroll down here.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
It's
Go.
like-
Hit it.
Let me add to, before you ask the question, Peggy. Let me add.
Okay.
Going in, obviously, you don't know what the mindset of the judges are going to be when you walk in the courtroom. You know in
Right.
advance. You know in advance who the judges are, but you don't know what their mindset's going to be. It was very obvious from early on in the argument. My argument, the judges have got vape case fatigue because
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
I picked that up.
all of these cases are now ending up on their docket
Right.
of all stripes, not just the marketing denial cases. There's at least 3 other types of cases that either are on their docket or will end up on their docket in the near future.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that it's clogging their docket. One of the judges actually said, and he pointed to his head and he said, I'm getting all these cases mixed up. And I sort of jokingly said, well, Judge, the lawyers that are handling these sympathize with you because we have the same problem.
Yeah.
So they're looking, I think, for an exit ramp.
Well, here's my quick question to you, real quick. What I don't understand is it's the judge has to follow the letter of the law. It's not how he feels that day. To me, I'm not just talking about like vaping. It seems like it's feeding into other aspects of law throughout the country right now on who's got power and who doesn't have power, and who can do this and who can't do this. And it just seems like federal judges say this, one federal judge says that. I just don't understand it. Aren't they supposed to just follow what the law is written in the books, and not how they feel it should be written or how they feel it should be done at that specific day and time? I don't understand that whole thing.
The problem is,
I don't want to get too political. You know what I mean, Greg.
What's the law? And,
correct.
And if the law
I know the one
settled, then they're gonna that's why they have room to play and wiggle room.
Yeah, I just don't get that whole part. I mean, the law's written there, and it's written a certain way to where, yeah, I guess you're right. The way it's written is there's some wiggle room here and there on things, but it's basically that judge's job, his sole duty is to respect the law the way it's written, and that's the way it's supposed to be done. And it just seems like nowadays it's just like, well, you know what? That was written back in 1776. You know what? That's, you know, it doesn't apply today, or that was back in 1980, and this situation is a lot different today than it was back in. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is the law. The law says this is supposed to be done this certain way, but yet here we are arguing, you know, how you feel today or what political side you're on. And I just don't. And I think that's the same shit we're running into now. Is we have judges that are initially backing up the FDA and making sure they look like, you know, they're the saviors, and we're these evil kid killing people that are out here trying to, you know, give them flavors.
Well, but let me give you an example of why it's not always so black and white. It is kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
The issue of the product standard matter is the comparative efficacy test arguably is a product standard because it affects the ingredients, the additives to a product. The product standard requirements define it that way. And the product standards say, a section of the TCA says, any product standard has to go through a rulemaking process. But by the same token, the review parts of the TCA that deal with PMTAs and whatnot give FDA a lot of discretion in how they go about reviewing the applications. So the comparative FDA saying, well, the comparative efficacy standard is something we've come up with in the adjudication of applications. So we're allowed to do this without a formal rulemaking requirement. Yeah. Although the TCA says that A, B, and C equals a product standard, and you require rulemaking, we've got ABC, but it's also being done in the process of reviewing applications. Where does this fall down? So it's not really a black and white question.
Right. Yeah, I get that. But when you had a company like we just saw that picture, I mean, if this was any other product and they were, you know, in the same situation and they were trying to get away from having something that was, you know, child friendly, you would look at that product and say, yeah, they've met the standard. That this is fine. This can go through. But how do you look at that thing even as a judge and say to yourself, yeah, this is how? What? Because it's green in there? I mean, where are you getting this?
A lot of it at that point becomes is driven by ideology.
Yeah.
You know, more conservative judges are likely to maybe not defer to the agency as much. More liberal judges are likely to give greater deference.
Yeah. Well, that when it comes down to, you brought up something. I remember you talking about this a long time ago on one of our other shows. Is picking the right state and the right court to argue your point and how important it is when it comes to that, when you're looking for conservative judges and not, you know, and liberal judges. So, and how important it is to file a suit against a company or the government in a certain district, right?
And the Fifth Circuit of all the 11 or 12 appellate courts in the federal level is probably the most conservative. by I think a pretty good margin. Well, the RGR Reynolds decision from the Supreme Court last year essentially means that all of these marketing denial cases will get brought in the Fifth Circuit.
I'm going to go back to Peggy. Peggy, I know you had a question. I'm cut you off.
That's okay. Because we're learning more as we go.
Yeah.
I like that the judges were looking for an exit ramp. I think I found that a couple of times, and it's like you said, they don't know which rules to follow. Did I hear? Because the Supreme Court uses one set of rules to make their opinions, and the circuit court has a different set of rules to write their opinions, and I assume the local court does as well. So they are different rules, and it's like the judges don't know how to get out of it, because she kept asking what would be the solution.
It's not quite how that works. Is if the Supreme Court has ruled on an issue, that is binding on all the lower courts. If it's an area that's open, then the appellate court looks at how has that particular appellate court dealt with similar issues in the past, and it's bound by its prior rulings.
Okay.
Timmy, you have something, or you want to say?
I have a thought. I mean, it this is just open table kind of stuff, but to my knowledge, and someone here on the show, correct me if I'm wrong. Someone in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. To my knowledge, the approved or items that were given a marketing grant that are out on the shelves that can legally be marketed are primarily disposable devices. I'm not aware of any particular bottled e-liquid that has received an MGO.
That has not happened. There has not been. I don't think there's been any disposables that have been approved. No. There have been a few pod systems that the tobacco companies own that have been approved, but only in tobacco and menthol.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. So let me correct what I said. I'm using portable language here, which I should be more correct in that. I apologize for using disposable. I believe there was one or two disposables in the list of authorized devices, but beyond that, the rest are like pod type devices, right? So you're buying like a pre-filled pod, correct, right? Because we don't have an authorized bottled liquid that someone can fill like an open device. I guess where I'm kind of going down the rabbit hole here is I was gonna say, why is it that in any of this mess, regardless of how the FDA wants to regulate or judge these devices, I'm putting the big tobacco company name to the side, like, oh, well, they got the approval, but not the little guy, right? But I'm just saying, why? It's just strange to me that through all this mess that we haven't been able to establish any kind of precedent of any kind to let that language from the pod type systems translate to the bottled liquid type items, right? Because if the standard is this juice is basically made just like this juice, and if somebody was able to get an MGO based on their scientific testing, their net benefit to public health and all this other stuff, that the FDA said, yeah, okay, these can go out on the shelf and these can be sold at, all these other distributors. At what point does the line get blurred and the FDA can stop looking at a bottled e-liquid so drastically different than the same damn liquid that's in, like a 2 or 4 mil pod? Like it's the same shit, bro.
You forget that when the result is orchestrated, that's what happens.
Yep.
It's a joke.
I don't think. I mean, go back to when the deeming rule first came out in 2016. So we're talking a decade ago.
Correct.
The fiscal analysis that FDA released at that time, this was a decade ago. This was 4 years before they received any PMTAs. Predicted that there would be mass market exodus, and that probably more than 90% of the products on the market would be denied. How did FDA know that before it received the first application?
Yeah, really.
Because it was biased.
No, because it was predetermined.
Yes. They already knew who was going to win.
Right.
FDA said in their fiscal analysis, we're not going to receive more than 2,500 applications.
Yeah, that was
all they got, really.
Yeah.
FDA
2,500 vendors.
FDA figured that no, that's product SKUs, no more than
Correct.
2,500 products total.
Yeah.
And if you remember, if you have a juice line that's a particular flavor in multiple nicotine strengths, each strength is a different SKU.
Yeah.
As is a size. Yes.
Right. So no more than 2,500 SKUs were going to seek application. What do we have? 6.7 million?
Yep.
Okay.
But if you look at the cigarette number of SKUs, that's probably all they have. There's not 2,500 cigarette SKUs. They just reuse them. I assume. I don't know. Marlboro Light's a Marlboro Light.
No, they don't reuse the SKUs. The SKUs, it's each product is its individual SKU. So,
but I see cigarette companies coming out with different branded names of, regurgitated stuff all the time. I'm not saying they use the same names. I'm just saying, like, my wife and I don't smoke, obviously, but we were looking at signs, like we were driving, going somewhere, and we were looking, and we were like, what are those Marlboros? Like, we had never even heard of them, and they all kind of had these fancy new names.
And that's the crazy thing. Yeah. The Tobacco Control Act makes it easier to get a new cigarette approved than it does to get a harm reduction product approved.
Yeah.
That's the disconnect.
Yeah.
And why I think that what my sense is the court's looking for an exit ramp is that how many cases have we now had before this court that have been argued? They've had a real good look at this over the last 5 or 6 years. And, they've told FDA, this is what we expect you to do. And this is what you can't do. And they keep getting all of these cases back, making the same arguments. Because guess what? FDA keeps doing the same thing. FDA keeps doing the same thing over and over again. And the court has told them you can't do that.
And they're still doing it. So.
Yes.
There's Miss Mallory Gates. Hello, Mallory.
Mallory, do it your damn self, Gates, in the house.
And that's why, if you remember the oral argument, when I first spoke, my first time around, I had 12 minutes, and I reserved 3 minutes for rebuttal. Mm-hmm. And I had like a minute, and I actually went over my time by a few seconds. But I talked about what's called the major questions doctrine. That's the constitutional argument. And the presiding judge actually asked FDA about that, and he kept trying to dodge her and get away from that. And remember, she corrected him a couple times and says, no, counsel, this is not non-delegation. It's a different thing.
Several times, yes.
When when the court starts talking about major questions doctrine, that is an absolute off-ramp. Because if the court finds in my favor on the product standard issue, all that does is it sends the application back to FDA to be re-reviewed without reference to comparative efficacy. Well, I know what's going to happen. They're going to say you still lose.
Correct.
Okay. If the court finds that this is a major question and that Congress violated the major questions doctrine, not only does FDA no longer have authority because the deeming rule is set aside, FDA cannot redeem because it has lost all authority. The whole premise of the second part of the vesting clause was to give FDA deeming authority. That goes away. It now becomes incumbent upon Congress to step in and deal with this. That would get all of these cases off the court's docket almost instantaneously.
Well, I'd answered my next question for you is what was your strategy?
Can you go back and explain the major question doctrine? What?
Yeah.
The major question doctrine in this case is unique among other cases. And actually, ironically, the major questions doctrine started with the Brown and Williamson tobacco case in 2000. If you remember, FDA tried to regulate cigarettes as a drug, nicotine as a drug, and cigarettes as a drug delivery device
Right.
Back in the mid 90s, and the Supreme Court issued an opinion in 2000 that said that the regulation of tobacco is a major question. It involves a question of historical proportions, of economic proportions, and of political proportions. Tobacco has a wide scope of influence in our country's history and in our economy.
Gotcha.
The questions that relate to big matters like that have to be answered by Congress. The major questions doctrine is what prevented the Occupational Safety and Health Administration from requiring all public employees or private sector employees to be vaccinated for COVID. Congress had not authorized that. That was something that OSHA read into an enabling statute. It's the same thing that the Supreme Court said that CDC could not invoke part of its enabling statute to put a moratorium on evictions during COVID.
Yeah.
Major questions.
I did find the picture, Greg. Here it is.
There we go.
I like it.
Oh, I love it.
I've got a fedora that looks kind of like that.
That's awesome.
Send me, John. I want
That's
that
great.
one.
And so the major questions doctrine, the Supreme Court found in Brown and Williamson that the regulation of tobacco was a major question and that Congress had to craft any regulatory regime. Okay, that's what the TCA was.
Yeah.
All of the other major question cases dealt with or have dealt with existing statutory structures. This is the first instance in which a court has been asked to look at a statutory structure that was created in response to a prior major question finding. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
That makes this case unique. And actually, that was something that I didn't pick up on until I'm preparing for the oral arguments a few days before the case was heard.
Yeah.
And it hit me. It's like, oh God, this is different. And there's really no test for this. And so what my argument is that the what and when questions Congress has to address. The how questions, when I say that, what, when, and how is what to regulate, when to regulate it, and how to regulate it.
And
the first two really are congressional matters. The third is sort of a in between. How to regulate is really the agency's expertise, but Congress has to give the agency pretty explicit instructions and guidance for regulation. Well, the Nicapure court case back 2017, 2018 found that Congress had not given any guidance to FDA about the deeming decision. That's binding on FDA.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel that is going to happen here eventually? Congress is going to step in and force FDA to make some sort of decision. Is that eventually going to happen?
Well, it depends. If this court were to say that it's a major question and that FDA lacks authority, I think that's going to do one of two. It's going to do two things. One, that case is at result is guaranteed. We're going to the Supreme Court. And I think Congress is going to step in, but I think even more so, I think that Trump is going to step in with an executive order in the interim.
In our favor?
I think that would be favorable to us, yes.
Okay. But not what we want, just that much of what we want, right?
Actually, what my hope for the executive order, if there's an executive order, that it would sort of be the template and the model for for Congress to come up with a fix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, by the way, there is a draft of reform legislation that has been circulated to some members of Congress.
Peggy seems to know.
Well, I don't know. But I mean, there's been several really smart people have put together a big plan on how to do this.
Yeah.
It's not something,
I can tell you that the draft legislation from the open system side, I know all about it because I helped write it, has been circulated to pretty much a good number of the Florida congressional delegation.
Florida's going to make waves this year.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Because the reason is, look at the faces if you watch Fox News, it's very easy to see. The faces from Congress that you see on Fox News routinely, Byron Donalds, Anna Paulina Luna, folks like that, those are the preferred folks down in this administration.
Let me hear. I got my next question for you.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Go.
Okay. If Trump does come and give us some sort of an order for the FDA, and it is favorable to us, then is there any way that it could be reversed at that point, and he would have to make another one that's stronger, or is that not possible? I don't understand how that's going to work.
Well, there's a couple things could happen, Michelle. One, if there was an executive order, there would be an immediate challenge by the anti-tobacco groups.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd expect that.
In court. Now,
Yes.
that would take some time. That would take some time to weed through.
Like 6 to 8 months, right?
Oh no, longer than that.
Okay, good.
That's the thing, is that the Supreme Court has said no national injunctions. Well, the only way that they would have to be able to keep this from being applicable universally is a universal national injunction.
Okay.
Which that's not supposed to happen anymore. But okay, Congress would step in. Congress would do something. This essentially would be the stopgap, and Congress may do something completely different.
Yeah.
And if they do, they do.
Yeah.
So,
Which judge's question concerned you the most, and why, Greg?
I think the questions about the product standard concern me the most. It got off to a little bit rough start. Because remember, I talked about at the start that the Triton decision had dealt with this issue in just like a footnote.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Only like 5 lines. It really didn't get into the in-depth reasoning for why they were saying this. The stay opinion for Reynolds did it, like 3 or 4 pages that were written of analysis. And so the presiding judge was looking to go on with Triton, and plus Triton's en banc opinion got reversed by the Supreme Court. So I don't even know how much of that is still valid. Now, the product standard issue didn't get taken up by FDA, and the Supreme Court said we're not deciding this issue. And so that part of the opinion may rest, but you certainly need rationale for your ruling. And that's why I kept going back to, and I finally said, if you marry the two concepts together, you'll be where you need to be.
Anybody questions, or I keep going?
Keep going.
There was a lot of talk about the analysis between the two, and she was saying that there is no benchmark for any of these for any products that say if this is 50% effective, it's good. If it's 49% effective, it's bad. So there's nothing anywhere that says what's good or bad.
And she kept trying to pin the lawyer down for FDA, and he really wouldn't answer her question. And essentially her question was, does a non-tobacco flavored product have to show statistical overperformance from an efficacy standpoint to get approval? And has all the ones that the reason why the denials have happened is because they haven't shown that. He really didn't want to answer that question. And so in my rebuttal, I said to her, Judge Elrod, the answer to the question that you asked, the answer is yes. That in every instance in which there has not been shown a statistical overperformance, there's been a marketing denial. And the problem with that is, to your point, Peggy, nowhere has FDA ever said what does efficacy look like? How many smokers is it? Is it 1? Is it 10? Is it 100? And I said, you're shooting in the dark. I said, you're shooting at a moving target in the dark without that information.
Anybody?
And I think
so there's no statistical studies that can be used as information to show that efficacy level. I mean, we've read several things here on the show that are like, oh, vaping is, X percentage more successful than, say, NRTs or patches, gums.
77%.
Yeah.
But those aren't U.S. studies. Right. They're not U.S. studies. They're Australian studies or English studies. Or
what FDA is requiring is on a product-specific basis.
Right.
Yes.
So you have to show that. Again, using the example, you've got menthol flavored in 4 different nicotine strengths. Yes. You've got to make that same showing, that same efficacy showing across all 4 strengths separately.
And all bottle sizes separately.
I mean, that's the current. Is there any way we can get rid of that?
Yes.
If they make us a vitamin.
No,
it can be a vitamin. It'd be good.
No. Yeah. The more common sense, and this is what I'm going to suggest in the comments that I am filing for the upcoming industry roundtable with FDA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you a backstory about that is that because I was told this at a trade show, I think in Fort Lauderdale or one of the recent ones. There has been at least one meeting at the West Wing with our side of the industry in the last few months. Okay.
I know Brady was there. Well, I don't know Brady was there, but I
wasn't going to mention any names, but that's a good start. You're getting warm.
It's Mr. 50 Bar, by the way.
And that they were meeting with the chief of staff, Trump's chief of staff. And she called in her chief of staff. So the chief of staff of the president has her own chief of staff and her own staff, which is interesting. And she called her chief of staff into the meeting and said, call over to HHS and get this man's products approved. Well, it doesn't quite work that way. It doesn't quite work that way. When he was telling me that story, I mean, I cracked up laughing because I know it doesn't work that way. But I really think that this roundtable that FDA's got is the response to the call over and get his products approved. I think there's been some pressure applied to move the needle a little bit. The better way to regulate is for FDA to recognize we recognize that these products are magnitudes less harmful.
Right.
That we've approved products that have this ingredient, this ingredient, this ingredient, this ingredient. And truth be told, the flavors. How many flavor companies are making products for vaping products? 2 or 3?
You're right.
The nicotine, the propylene glycol, it's probably coming from many of the same vendors. The nicotine, same thing.
Even if it's
is not focused so much on that, but look more at the more granular testing for the harmful constituents. FDA has an assay of the harmful constituent results for the approved products. They could use that, a composite of that, or they could use the OSHA workplace requirements that are the
that already exist.
It already exists and have been proven time and time again. And if you fall less than those OSHA requirements, then you pass the HPHC. That'd be a much easier way to do it.
Do you think that they're actually thinking that way, though?
I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be a little while probably before we get a decision. If I'm FDA, I'm seriously have a conversation about do we need to maybe proactively do something before the court pulls the plug on us?
Timmy, do you want to scroll down on that list and go to the question 13 and down, the FDA regulations and
Skip
policy?
all the way to 13?
Yeah, I mean, my throat is burning up, but I don't want to keep coughing in the
That's
camera.
no problem, sir. Just make sure you're comfortable with 8 through 12.
Yeah.
All right.
But we're getting to a place now in society and science and that they're starting to realize that there's no harm in this.
Right. So they're going to have to agree.
Yeah, it's already been proven in other countries that there is zero harm.
Yeah.
Well, and it's becoming more and more a function of corruption, or not. Maybe not corruption. It's funny.
Oh, that's right.
I got a call today.
Bribes.
I got a call today from an investigative reporter here in Kentucky. He's with an alternative publication. He used to be, in his prior life, when our local newspaper was really a good newspaper, he was one of their lead investigative reporters. And they're the ones who broke the story early last year about the Big Tobacco, Altria, and Reynolds, and how much money they had given to the state Republican Party in Kentucky for their expanded party headquarters.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was quite a bit of money. Well, This was a sort of a follow-up story about how much money Altria, Reynolds, PMI have given directly in contributions or through a particular PAC to our Attorney General.
Ooh.
Well, it's funny. Second time this week this conversation has come up. The first one was with Virginia. Same thing. And when he said it was a Safer Kentucky PAC, was what the name of the PAC was here. I said, well, you know what? I mentioned to him, I found out a couple of days ago that the same thing is happening in Virginia, and it's called a Safer Virginia PAC. And it's Altria, Reynolds, the same people. Well, he's doing a story about this, and let me read you what he asked me for a response. Or for a comment. I'm going to read you what I told him. Based on what I've seen in other states, the legacy tobacco companies are focusing on state attorneys general with direct and PAC contributions to influence policy. State AGs are responsible for ensuring that legacy tobacco companies comply with the 1998 Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement. A key element of that agreement prohibits the legacy tobacco companies from engaging in actions which are likely to lead to increased youth tobacco use. It always creates an optics problem when a regulator accepts campaign contributions from regulated parties.
Yep.
Okay, that's part of the problem. That's part of our issue, is that for up until recently, the thumb has been on the regulatory scale.
Mm-hmm.
And the tobacco companies have been able to ensure that thumb stays there.
Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just going to say that kind of stuff just ticks me off. That one organization's oversight can just limit it full stop. I keep going back to the why can't we all come to an agreement that if we could find a standardization in the composition and the manufacturing of e-liquid and say that, it follows one particular standard, like any food company or anything like that has to make a particular product.
Agree.
Then we could establish a precedent across the board. Again, whatever's going into that pre-filled pod is the same thing that's going into that bottle, and they're using the same strengths in general terms. I mean, even when you get to the pre-filled stuff, you really don't even have that many options as you do with bottled e-liquid, right? Because in the pre-filled stuff, it's like, 5%. You know, that's pretty. I mean, pretty much all you see out there, unless you get one of them fancy disposables that somehow makes you think you can regulate the nicotine and the menthol combination. Like, oh, okay, so it's not 5 if I put it on setting 2. You know, it doesn't work like that. But it just pisses me off that one organization can have such a foothold on that. But did you want me to read these?
And let me sort of turn the corner on that, because I was watching a show back. I guess it was right around New Year's. It was like maybe January 2nd. It was a best of show. And it was an interview with Charlie Sheen. And Charlie Sheen was very, very open and honest about his struggles with addiction and mental health. And he ripped into the systems that allow this to happen. It's coming out more and more on the Rob Reiner murder that the same systems failed that family.
Yep.
It makes me think that the administration is really going to focus on mental health and addiction and recovery.
Yep.
From what we know about, if you've seen A Billion Lives and you don't know nicotine, we play a significant part in that process.
Yes.
Nicotine does. Those systems are going to need mass quantities of high nicotine, easily used products. Disposables have found their lane. Get the disposables out of the stores, put them down that pathway. Instantly, we're back to 2016 again in the marketplace.
Correct.
A lot of all this fraud stuff that's come out from Minnesota, whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, some of this fraud stuff is eye-popping, and it's not just there; it's all over. Apparently.
It's all over. It's all over.
The next shoe that's going to drop, and I'd heard that this had happened, and I didn't think anything would ever happen of it, but I think it's the next shoe that's going to drop, is the fraud that was USAID and the SBA loans for immigrant-owned businesses. And I read this article a couple of weeks ago that the Indian-owned hotel industry is going to be in the crosshairs, as is the convenience store and smoke shop industry.
Yeah.
How many of the foreign-owned smoke shops that are sketchy and whatnot are going to dry up and blow away overnight when the clawback starts?
Yeah.
A lot of our problem with the marketplace right now might take care of itself. It's a matter of time. So imagine that happening and finding a separate lane for disposables intersecting. Yeah. You get a marketplace that goes back to 2016 again.
I'm going to throw. We only have like 7 minutes left, but I got a question for you, Craig. If there is a major change in California with our governor, let's just say for some miracle reason a Republican gets elected into the governor of California. You see, I know it's a stretch, but it's possible it could happen.
You're discounting the fact that Newsom doesn't get indicted.
But I'm just saying, if that were to happen, do you think we would see some changes in California?
I hope so.
As far as vaping,
are you talking about positive or negative? Because remember, you could get worse.
I know it could get worse. I think
that even some of the diehard old school liberals in California have finally awakened and said, "Wait a second, this is nuts."
Yeah. Well, we saw that we lost about $500 million worth of taxes that just left the state last week.
Yeah.
I mean, California has so many things going for it. It's a beautiful state.
Yes.
Great weather, great environment. You got a beach. How can you screw this up?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be absolutely, completely stupid to screw up California.
Yeah.
You got a good governor, though. Just ask.
Yeah.
Look what. Okay, when was the best time to live in California? The mid '60s to early '70s.
Yeah.
Who was the governor Who was the governor of California then?
Before our time.
Reagan. No,
Oh,
Reagan
really?
was the governor of California.
Reagan was?
Yeah.
Oh.
We learn something new every day.
Reagan.
Do you know something you take for granted? Something happens to you at home, you get injured, whatever. What's the first call you make?
Mama.
911. EMS, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Do you know which governor innovated the concept of paramedical medicine? Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. Yeah.
That's cool. All right.
Remember the TV show Emergency from back in the day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That was during his era.
Mm-hmm. I knew that.
He is the one who pioneered as a politician pioneered that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hope there's some changes, and I think that it would be great to be able to actually walk into a vape shop and actually get some stuff and not have to come back.
A whole range of things, right?
Come on by whenever you're ready.
and not have to come back during almost closing hours and and wait for the store to be almost empty to get what I need.
But remember back a decade ago, vape shops in many respects were almost like a community center.
It was.
Correct.
People hang out. They'd have couches, video game systems, pool tables, stuff like that. People would, they order pizzas and have parties and stuff there.
Some had espresso machines. Some had espresso machines.
Yes. Remember that only the ones owned by Italians. Remember the cloud comps and those fun times.
Yeah.
That got lost when disposables came along.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now, the reality is disposables are here. That would be like the makers of horses and of buggies, horse-driven buggies, saying we want to get rid of cars. That ain't gonna happen.
Correct.
We're not going back there.
Yeah.
Disposables are here. We've got to figure out a way how to corral them and put them in their own lane where they're not a problem for everybody. Get back to the marketplace that made this industry what it was. Remember how fun
and put them all back in the vape shop.
Yeah. Remember how fun shows used to be?
The one thing too as well about the vape shop is it made you, didn't matter how old you were part of that community, you were part of that group of people, and it didn't matter. I was the old guy that was coming in here. Yeah, back then when I first started, you could go into a vape shop at 18, so you could sample e-liquid at 18 there. So, but I never felt uncomfortable or out of place or like I didn't belong. I didn't get treated like I was this old guy. Like you get treated on most things. Like you go into a record store and you get laughed at because you're listening to something from the 50s or the 60s. But
hey,
no, not in the vape shop. No,
not in the vape shop.
No, you're right about that. And now the industry would have to clean up some of the dumb stuff that they used to do. No more unicorn puke. No more.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We need some limits, and that's why I'm glad I got to argue on behalf of this brand, because it's sort of the model of what we need. We need the one thing we did was the vape stores were the innovators in requiring age verification of everybody. We were doing it in many cases before the states or cities required us to do it.
Yeah.
And actually there were legislators and here locally in the state that were surprised when we told them, when they were considering doing this, saying, this is not going to change what we're doing because we've been doing this. Actually, we do more than what you require.
Yeah.
And they were quite surprised by that we were that proactive, because it's a matter of survival.
Yeah. I mean, until I said earlier, I think Congress needs to step in and set some sort of standards. And I think until they get forced to do the right thing, the FDA is going to just play their cards, and go with who's funding their little organization, and we know where all their money is coming from. So, but until Congress sits down and says, hey, okay, you can't keep doing this to this industry, and you need to set some sort of standards, and you got to abide by those standards, and you can't keep moving the goalpost every time they meet your standards. And that's the problem. Go ahead.
But also too, the agencies work in a different manner. The president can give a directive. He can sign an executive order. Yeah. That executive order would have the force of law within that agency. The agency director or the secretary or the head can say, this is how we're going to do things.
Yeah.
But the rank and file civil service level folks in that agency, they have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are really doing the day-to-day regulating. They're the ones who are coming up with all this stuff. Yeah. And this is why one of the cases that's being argued at the Supreme Court here soon is so important, is that it would give the president essentially authority to fire those folks.
Yes. Oh, I know where he could start. No.
Well, wasn't the Rydell somebody supposed to do that as well?
Do what now?
It was a Rydell and somebody that did the FDA survey. Wasn't that supposed to do it as well?
Oh, the Reagan-Udall.
Yes, that's the word.
They haven't. They're really. I think this administration is going to force their hand to be compliant with that, and really, I think it's also part of the function of why we're having this roundtable coming up, is to sort of address some of the issues in Reagan-Udall.
Gotcha. What are the chances of us doing a self-regulation?
Ooh.
Other industries do it. It's really brave.
0 to none, but a variation of that. Actually, I was talking to Brady and to Nick Orlando and some other folks at one of the champ shows. And I ran something by them, and I said, "Hey, think about this. Would this work? Is that Congress has done this with a number of other different regulatory setups, is that there is a commission or a board or I forgot what one of the terms they use for it, that the people on it are appointed. It's like an oversight board.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the ones that help the agency in enforcement. And it's usually industry driven. So we would have people from the industry on that board, and we would help FDA point out the bad actors, the people they need to go after.
Mm-hmm.
We come up with rules for retailing and for distribution and for manufacturing. We come up with some of the branding standards. We help FDA craft the standards, and we help FDA enforce the standards. That's as close as
we don't need the FDA hasn't done shit in 16 years.
No.
Right.
No, the problem is.
So how do we get one of us to stand up and just do it and say, okay, if you have to follow this manufacturing thing, the labels have to be this.
It would have to be part of that's an element of reform legislation that we're proposing. Would have that element in it, that there would be an appointed board from within the industry that would help guide FDA.
And who would make the appointments from within the industry?
It wouldn't be made within the industry. It would be the government. The government would be deciding, and it's also is it going to be so many going to be just picked by the White House, so many by the agency? How we're going to work that? I'm still trying to figure that language out, what it looks like.
I mean, other occupations do it. Accountants are self-regulated. Attorneys are self-regulated. I don't know who else does.
No, actually, attorneys are not self-regulated. We are regulated by a bar association, which where I'm from, we're regulated by the Supreme Court of Kentucky.
Yeah,
we're not self-regulated.
Gotcha.
But if we do something like this, that kind of a model, where we have a board, an oversight board. You mentioned financial. One of the templates I'm working off of to try to craft this is the board that was created by the Sarbanes-Oxley Act that resulted from the bank financial meltdown 20 plus years ago.
All right, we are out of time. Greg, thank you again. And I had to put up the last picture because I found that other one, the one just of you, and I had to share it.
Let's see.
Let's see. And Greg's muscle.
There we
Oh,
go.
Hey. That's Bruno and Bruno.
There you go. Yes.
Listen those two guys into FDA.
Those guys don't look like the kind of guys that just hold doors open for people.
Well, we sent Jimmy up there. Wasn't that close?
No, because those guys would bring a beating with them.
Yeah, they would.
Right.
No, but that's the kind that one of them would hold a gun to the FDA people's head and say, either your brains or your screws are going to go on this grant order.
Yeah.
While somebody else is holding the plastic down on the carpet, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, they wouldn't care about that. They want the splitter. They want to send a message.
Yeah, they got to send a message. Don't mess with my mango.
That's
there
right.
you go. Mangoes cause extra ears to grow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard that or not.
We're out of here. Thank you, Greg, for taking the time to join us and sharing exactly what happened. Thank you, Timmy, Michelle, and Peggy. We will all be back next week. I can't tell you what's on the show next week, but I'll let you know during the week. Everybody out there, have a great week. Thank you for joining us in chat. Everybody look into the camera and say goodbye.
And Steve, I'll get that Grecian formula by next week. I promise.
All right.